Well, hey everyone. Today we're going to be talking about how to lead and facilitate a group and conversation. And that's not the coolest title in the world, but I couldn't think of anything else. But this may be one of the most important videos that you watch. Here at Embrace, one of our core values is to be kingdom-minded. We want to empower people and develop leaders. And one of the main ways that we think that we can do that is through small group discussion. We think sermons are really important, but we actually think what's more important is that after you listen to a sermon is to gather with other people and then discuss how God spoke to you through that sermon and how the Holy Spirit is leading you in that moment. Because it's through these discussions where we're really able to learn from each other. And it's through these discussions that we start to learn how to have a vocabulary for our faith. And so real quick, I just want to share with you some things that have been very helpful to me to remember as I'm leading and facilitating discussions. So this is for small group leaders, home church leaders, wherever you may find yourself. Hopefully, these things that I'm sharing with you today will be helpful for you as well. The first thing that I would share with you is to be an example. The most important thing for you as a home church leader or small group leader is that you lead through your own character and through your own attitude. In all likelihood, most of the people that are in your group are not going to remember one of our lessons from 5 years ago, but they will remember you and how you treated them and how you prayed for them and how you welcomed them into your home. And so a big part of facilitating a discussion actually starts with you and your character and your attitude and how you treat people in your group. Another big part of that is you being willing to share from your own life. You don't have to be perfect to be a leader, but you do need to be growing. And so you really set the tone for the conversation in your group. And so your willingness to share how God is teaching you, your willingness to share how God is convicting you, challenging you, encouraging you, is going to really set the tone for the whole of your group. So it really starts with you and you being an example for the culture of your church and for your group. A second thing that I would share with you is don't be afraid of silence. Oftentimes, as you start the discussion, you're going to ask a question that is pretty deep or a question that requires some thinking and thought. And oftentimes, people who are facilitating a group don't allow enough time of silence. And so you ask this question that's very thought-provoking, but then we literally wait 5 seconds, and when there isn't an answer, we start talking or we move to a next question. Don't do that. Don't be afraid of silence. Once you ask the question, give some people some time to process and think about the question that you just asked. Along with that, another principle that I would give you is don't be discouraged. Not every small group, not every home church is going to go perfectly. You're going to have weeks where it feels like it was an epic failure. You're going to have weeks where it just felt like you were chasing rabbit trails, you just got off topic a lot, or there's going to be weeks where it just felt like a lot of people didn't engage or didn't discuss. That's okay. No matter how good you are at facilitating discussion, you're going to have moments and you're going to have weeks that just didn't go super well. And that's okay. Don't get discouraged. Don't give up. Sometimes people are just tired. Sometimes we maybe just didn't give you really good discussion questions. Maybe it's our fault. But don't get discouraged. There are just going to be weeks, there are going to be moments where the group just did not discuss things well. So don't get discouraged. Don't give up. Keep persevering because God is in this and you are going to have some times where things go amazingly well. So don't get discouraged. Don't give up. Another thing I would share is echo input. Echo input. What I mean by this is anytime someone in your group shares, you make sure that you repeat what you heard from them. What this does is that it communicates that you value their input. There's nothing worse than someone who's introverted and they finally have the courage to share something that they've learned or that God's taught them, and then there's nothing but silence right after, or you just directly move on and go to somebody else. Make sure that you affirm what someone has contributed to the group. It's also a great way to help the group stay focused and bring clarity to somebody else's answer. There may be someone in your group and they give a long-winded answer that kind of goes all over the place. You echoing their input helps bring clarity to what they've just said. So that's a huge way to keep the group moving, and it's a huge way to help people feel valid and affirmed in what they have just spoken. So make sure you echo the input of other people. Along with that, another principle I'd give you is to keep the group focused, but remain open to the Holy Spirit. Here's what I mean by that is you as the leader, you are trying to keep the group focused on the content that is being discussed. Most weeks we want you to cover the going deeper questions and to make it through those questions as best as you can. So you're there to help keep the group focused and keep the group moving forward. With that said, we want you to be Spirit-led. That's one of our values. And so if someone shares something that is very vulnerable, or they share something that is very deep or heavy, and you feel like the Spirit's leading you to take a time out and to pray for that person, do it. Even if that means that you don't get through all of the go deeper questions, that's all right. So we want you to be in tune to the moment. Or if y'all get to a certain question and there's just a lot of great feedback and a lot of great input and that discussion's going well, don't feel like you have to cut that off because, again, that you have to get through every single question. If God is moving in that moment, stay in that moment. And so be open to the Holy Spirit while at the same time trying to keep the group focused on the topic at hand. The last suggestion that I would give you is simply to pray. And that can sound kind of quaint, but I really mean that. The most important thing that you can do for your group and for the people in your groups is to pray for them, is to intercede on their behalf, is to pray for them in the midst of the discussion, after the discussion, to pray over people, to pray for people, to really ask that God would do a new work in your life and in the life of the people who are in your church or in your small group. That is by far the most important thing that you can do for them, and the most important thing that you can do for yourself is to remain connected to Jesus and to remain connected to intercessory prayer. Again, we hope that all of these lessons will be helpful to you as they've been helpful to me. And again, we thank you so much for leading and facilitating a group. We know that God will work in the midst of your group. God bless you.